The year is 2005, and 22-year-old David Pacuz finds himself trapped in a life of monotony in Miami, working as a licensed massage therapist. Tired of earning a living by massaging wealthy older men, his frustration grows as every attempt to carve a better path for himself falls flat. After dropping out of college in just one semester, cutting ties with his parents, and losing 6 different jobs, his options are few. His latest venture, investing his life savings into high-quality bedsheets to sell to retirement homes, fails miserably, as the owners care little about improving the quality of life for the elderly. During a funeral one fateful afternoon, David reconnects with Efraim DeVerley, his childhood best friend. Efraim, now in his early 20s, had been living in Los Angeles, working in the arms-dealing business under his uncle. However, after a fallout involving stolen money, Efraim left LA to return to Miami and start his own venture, AEY Incorporated. As the two catch up, they make a quick stop to buy pot. But Efraim is swindled by street thugs who take his money without delivering the goods. Enraged, Efraim storms to his car, retrieves a machine gun from the trunk, and fires several rounds into the sky, scattering the thugs and leaving David stunned. For a man used to being pushed around by life, David finds Ephraim's boldness magnetic. The following day, David visits Ephraim's office and is impressed by his audacity and resourcefulness. Posing as a military officer, Efraim cunningly extracts information about lucrative defense contracts from competitors. He explains his business model to David. He sells not just to private buyers, but directly to the U.S. government. By targeting smaller military contracts ignored by large corporations, Efraim is able to make millions with little competition. David returns home later that day to learn his girlfriend is pregnant. Overwhelmed by the realization of impending fatherhood and his inability to provide for a child, David grows increasingly desperate. Sensing an opportunity, Efraim offers him a partnership at AEY. At first, David hesitates. He and his are vehemently anti-war, participating in rallies and signing petitions. But Efraim cleverly manipulates David, convincing him that profiting off war doesn't equate to supporting it. David reluctantly agrees to join AEY, though he tells us they'll be selling bed linens to the military, not weapons. Over the next 6 weeks, David immerses himself in the arms trade. He learns to navigate the government's public website for military contracts, negotiating deals with Eastern European weapons manufacturers. Together, David and Efraim are labeled war dogs, a term used for opportunists who profit from war without ever stepping onto the battlefield. AEY's funding comes from Ralph Slutsky, the owner of 14 dry cleaners in Miami. Ralph believes Efraim shares his devout Jewish values and supports Israel, unaware that AEY indiscriminately sells arms to all sides of the conflict. Ralph is also misled into thinking his 25% stake in the company is legitimate, though Efraim carefully manipulates the books to hide the truth. David's knack for the business grows, and he secures a connection with Henry Girard, a notorious arms supplier with 2 decades of experience dealing with both sides of various global conflicts. AEY soon lands its first major deal, supplying thousands of Beretta pistols to the Iraqi police in Baghdad. David and Iz's joy at seeing their unborn daughter during an ultrasound is overshadowed by a call from Captain Philip Santos, who informs David that a new law bans arms shipments from Italy to Iraq. Despite the setback, Efraim devises a workaround, rerouting the shipment through Jordan, a country with no embargoes against Iraq. At a dinner party hosted by Iz, her friends warn David about Ephraim's shady reputation, revealing that it was Efraim, not his uncle, who had stolen money. The party takes an awkward turn when Efraim arrives uninvited, clearly envious of David's personal life. Pulling David aside, Efraim reveals that Jordanian customs have seized their shipment of Berettas. Meanwhile, Captain Santos threatens to cancel their contract for cause, which would blacklist AEY from future government deals. The situation escalates when Iz overhears the conversation, finally realizing her husband has been lying to her about his involvement in arms dealing. Furious and feeling betrayed, she confronts David, telling him she no longer trusts him. With no time to address the fallout at home, David and Efraim fly to Jordan to recover their seized shipment. Their troubles worsen when they discover their permits have expired, leaving them stranded. Desperate, they bribe local officials to release the cargo and hire Marlboro, a notorious smuggler, to transport the weapons into Iraq. David is apprehensive about the dangerous journey, but Efraim assures him it'll be over by morning. With the stakes higher than ever, the two friends set out on a perilous drive through hostile territory, carrying their illegal cargo toward a war zone, knowing failure is not an option. Under the cover of night, David and Efraim cross the perilous Iraqi border in a truck loaded with supposed cigarette cargo. Marlboro, their driver, smooth talks the patrols with a bribe of cigarettes, claiming that's all they're transporting. The bribe works, and they are waved through. Exhausted from the tense journey, David and Efraim fall asleep, only to awaken to a startling scene. The truck has stopped in front of an abandoned gas station. As Marlboro refuels from a gas can and Efraim steps away to relieve himself, David's phone buzzes. It's Iz. Her voice is softer than usual, filled with understanding as she acknowledges the pressure David must be under. She extracts a promise from him, never to lie to her again. David agrees, still spinning the web of deceit by claiming he's safe in a hotel. Suddenly, the moment is shattered by movement in the distance. Armed insurgents emerge, advancing toward the truck. David's heart pounds as he warns Efraim, who scrambles back to the vehicle. The truck starts with the last dregs of fuel, but Marlboro is left behind. With no choice but to keep moving, they yell at Marlboro to run. He sprints after the truck, managing to leap aboard and refuel at mid-motion. Bullets rain down as the insurgents open fire, riddling the air with chaos. Just when hope seems lost, salvation comes roaring over the horizon. A convoy of American soldiers appears, scaring off the attackers. Shaken but alive, the trio presses on to the military base, earning the admiration of Captain Santos for surviving the notorious Triangle of Death. After snapping celebratory selfies with their cargo, they secure payment and are escorted to the airport under heavy guard. With the deal completed, their lives shift dramatically. Money pours in, and their company grows exponentially. David and Efraim revel in their success, splurging on matching Porsches, luxury apartments, and even burning through excess inventory like it's disposable. Ralph, their investor, is elated with his returns and increases his funding, enabling them to expand the company and hire more staff. While Ephraim's demeanor becomes increasingly erratic, David tries to find solace in his family. He treasures time with his newborn, but the pressure never lets up. One night, a potential jackpot lands in their lap, the Afghan deal. This monumental contract involves supplying the military with 100 million rounds of AK-47 ammunition. The duo heads to Nevada's Vegas X convention, hoping to find manufacturers capable of fulfilling the order. The event is a disaster. Coordinating such a massive deal proves logistically impossible for their small operation. Frustrated, David heads to a casino to clear his mind, only to be approached by the enigmatic Henry Gerard, a legend in the arms-dealing world. Over dinner, Henry unveils a tantalizing offer. He can supply the entire Afghan order. His Albanian contacts are sitting on a massive stockpile of weapons, remnants of Cold War-era paranoia. Henry explains the ammunition is surplus, and Albania is desperate to offload it. Suspicious, Efraim presses Henry on why he isn't bidding himself. Henry admits he's blacklisted by the U.S. government, flagged as a national security risk. David hesitates, unnerved by Henry's shady reputation, but Efraim points out the irony. They've been dealing with questionable characters all along. Reluctantly, David agrees, and the duo flies to Albania to inspect the goods. Their driver, Bashkim, takes them to a decrepit warehouse. The bullets, though old, are tested and found functional. Satisfied, they return to Miami and submit their bid. Months pass before they learn they've won the contract. Their triumph is short-lived. Government vetting looms ahead. To pass scrutiny, David and Efraim hastily forge documents and fake years of bookkeeping. They arrive at Rock Island for a meeting with military procurement officers, nerves frayed to the breaking point. To steady themselves, they smoke pot before entering. Despite their paranoia, the meeting goes smoothly, and their bid is approved. However, Efraim seethes upon discovering they underbid by over $50 million. Back home, David breaks the news to is that he'll be gone for a month. She reacts calmly but drops a bombshell. She's leaving for his mother's house with their baby. This confronts David with damning evidence. Photos of him in Iraq and hidden cash stashed under the sink. Betrayed, she refuses to hear his excuses and walks out. Devastated, David throws himself deeper into work. Before leaving for Albania, Efraim gifts David a gold-plated grenade as a token of gratitude. David, in turn, presents a partnership agreement for them to sign. Ephraim's forced smile betrays his unease, but he signs. The papers are tucked away in David's desk drawer. Back in Albania, Bashkim is once again assigned to drive David. Despite the mounting tension, David repeatedly tries to call his, only to be met with silence. While preparing the cargo for shipment, David makes a shocking discovery. The bullets are Chinese-made, violating a U.S. embargo. Panicked, David informs Efraim, and they call Henry for answers. Henry coldly reminds them it's their responsibility to inspect every crate before purchase. The revelation turns their once golden opportunity into a ticking time bomb, threatening to unravel everything they've built. David finds himself stranded in Albania, struggling to piece together new suppliers from Eastern Europe. Days pass without much progress, but then Efraim unexpectedly arrives at his hotel with a bold, albeit illegal, plan. They could repackage the bullets. By stripping the rounds of their original crates, the U.S. government would never trace them back to China, the bullets' actual origin. Moreover, using fireboard boxes would drastically cut down on shipping costs. The allure of the massive profits is too tempting to resist. They reach out to Bashkim, who introduces them to his contact, Enver, a man who runs a packing company. Keeping the Chinese origins a secret, they tell Enver their goal is to reduce the shipment's weight. Enver agrees to help for $100,000, a small price to pay to save the deal and pocket an extra $3 million. On December 8, 2007, The first 5 million rounds are successfully delivered to the Afghan army, a major victory for their operation. During Christmas, David manages to catch a brief glimpse of his newborn child through a video call, a rare moment of joy amidst the chaos. But the celebration is short-lived. That night, Efraim calls from the U.S. with news that Henry, one of their partners, has charged them a 400% markup. Furious, Efraim announces his intent to cut Henry out of the deal. David warns him against this rash decision. Henry is not someone to cross lightly. Besides, their profits are already astronomical, and any fallout could jeopardize the entire operation. The conversation takes a personal turn as David vents his frustrations, pointing out how he's been tirelessly working in Albania, far from his family, while Efraim enjoys the comfort of life back in the U.S. It feels less like a partnership and more like a boss-worker relationship. Efraim seemingly agrees and promises not to act on his anger. However, his actions speak otherwise. He secretly steals the signed agreement from David's desk. A few days later, at the start of 2008, the situation takes a dark turn. David is kidnapped from his apartment, driven to a desolate plot of land, and brutally beaten by 2 thugs. Henry himself appears, gun in hand, to deliver a chilling warning. No one cuts him out of a deal. Shaken, David decides he's had enough and resolves to return to Miami. Before leaving Albania, David stops by the warehouse to collect his belongings. Enver confronts him, furious that he hasn't been paid and revealing that he knows the real reason for the repacking scheme. Efraim, who has been dodging Enver's calls, leaves David to deal with the fallout. David assures Enver he'll wire the money once he's back in the U.S. and promises to return in a week. But as he's about to leave, Bashkim's wife approaches him, distraught. Her husband has disappeared without a trace. Bashkim's body is never found. The grim reality solidifies David's decision. He's never coming back to Albania. Upon returning to Miami, David goes straight to his partner and confesses everything. The illegal deals, the lies, the danger. Moved by his sincerity and his promise to leave the arms business behind and return to massage therapy, takes him back. David then confronts Efraim, announcing his resignation and demanding his share of the profits. Efraim, feeling betrayed, refuses to pay. Even when David threatens legal action, Efraim remains unfazed, smugly revealing that he destroyed their only signed agreement. In a fit of rage, David hurls a gold grenade, a gift from Efraim, through the glass partition between their offices before storming out. 3 months later, David has returned to massage therapy, trying to rebuild his life. One afternoon, Ralph, a mutual acquaintance, approaches him, claiming Efraim wants to reconcile. Reluctantly, David agrees to meet. The three gather at a diner where Efraim offers a weak apology and a paltry $200,000 settlement. Furious, David accuses Efraim of exploiting him and reveals that he has incriminating evidence on his laptop, proof of every illegal deal they made. Efraim, however, remains calm, knowing that exposing him would also implicate David, whose name is on all the paperwork. The meeting ends without resolution. Shortly after, David receives a call from the New York Times regarding the repackaged Chinese ammo. Alarmed, he denies any knowledge and hangs up. Now paranoid, he promises he'll consult a lawyer. Meanwhile, Efraim also receives a call from the same journalist. When they cross paths in an elevator, Efraim tries to play the role of the nostalgic childhood friend, but David sees through the act. Enraged, he punches Efraim, finally recognizing that their relationship was never built on friendship but manipulation. As the elevator doors open, they are met by FBI agents who promptly arrest them. The downfall is traced to one overlooked detail, Enver. Furious over not being paid, Enver reported their illegal activities to the Pentagon, triggering an extensive investigation. Ralph, cornered by federal agents, strikes a deal and wears a wire to the diner meeting, capturing their confessions. Efraim is indicted on over 70 federal charges and sentenced to 4 years in prison. David pleads guilty and receives 7 months of house arrest. By 2022, their company, AEY, regains eligibility to bid on federal contracts, though its legacy is irreparably tarnished. After serving his sentence, David resumes his life as a massage therapist. One day, his next client turns out to be none other than Henry. Terrified, David braces for the worst, but Henry assures him he means no harm. If he wanted David dead, he quips, it would have already happened. Henry even apologizes for the events in Albania, attributing them to bad intel, and thanks David for not implicating him during the investigation. As a gesture of goodwill, or perhaps a calculated bribe, Henry offers David a suitcase full of cash on the condition that he never asks about Bashkim or their coincidental meeting at the blackjack table. With lingering doubts and questions, David accepts the money, choosing silence over further confrontation. From college dropouts to international arms dealers, David and Ephraim's journey proves one thing: chasing fortune and power comes at a price. But what do you think? Should David have taken Henry's money or walked away clean? And does Ephraim's short prison stint feel like justice for his betrayal? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Movies Unboxed. For more gripping tales of crime, chaos, and larger-than-life stories, hit that notification bell.